second stage of the poison drop, this massive poison drop. The stuff they're using here is a cereal pellet, and it's compressed and pretty high toxic stuff. Apparently this stuff's twice as toxic as the carrots, but the distribution is a lot lower per hectare. These cylindrical cereal pellets are spread at a lower rate per hectare than that of the carrots, but we're just surprised at how good these guys are at distributing the stuff. There's another one over here. With this kind of coverage over thousands of hectares, it'll be incredible if anything survives.
Some of the recent studies that may have possible implications for 1080 that worry me are ones involving extremely low dosages of chemicals. They may be toxic at a high dose, such as arsenic, but at very low levels, parts per billion, arsenic has effect on gene expression without actually altering structural parameters, which may have make an individual creature more susceptible to disease later in life. And some recent studies at the University of Washington State University by Michael Skinner and colleagues in the last 12 months also concerns me deeply, because he found that exposures to a commonly used fungicide in the wine industry and a commonly used pesticide transiently given to a pregnant rat may lead to long-term effects on fertility and also to other disease factors which can be passed on, inherited, up to 4 generations.
It's impossible for these guys to keep this stuff out of the waterways. I'm thirsty, but I'm not that thirsty. There's 3 baits sitting in just a few metre stretch of water here. Now this particular stream, according to the map, runs about 3 kilometres till it hits another stream further down. Now if you were to say estimate about 1 bait per 20 metres, and from what we've seen there appears to be a bit more than that, but at that rate that's about 150 baits just in this waterway alone. And when you consider that over every ridge there's another little creek like this, and they're all flowing down together, and then they hit the rivers, and that's only accounting for the baits in the stream, not to mention ones that are up the side and leach down. And then of course there's the carcasses, so it's an awful lot of poison. The strange thing is that when you hear on the news about a business or factory with chemicals or waste products spilling into a waterway, you nearly always hear they get slapped with a massive fine or they're made to shut down. Even the poor old farmers have to be careful about spill-offs. Yet how's this any different?
Yeah, when assessing the risks of any toxin, we need to consider the risks involved in the target animals that we're trying to control with this toxin, but we also need to consider the non-target effects. In other words, the effects on organisms that we don't intend to harm with this toxin. 1080 is a toxin which is a very broad spectrum toxin. It's not species specific like some toxins are.
Whenever we find a hind, we just know there's going to be another young one, whether we find it or not.
In my view at least, there is some area of concern for non-target effects of the toxin, especially at low concentrations, and especially in relation to its potential to disrupt hormone systems. If a toxin is at a low level in, say, a water supply, it might not be enough to cause cancer, or certainly not enough to kill something, but it might be at a concentration that's high enough to disrupt hormone systems. Now, that might be not a problem for some parts of the population, but it might be a problem for some. For example, it could be a problem for during pregnancy. Okay, at low levels, an endocrine disruptor, hormone disruptor, at low concentrations can still be problematic during fetal development. And in the science literature, the studies that have been done on 1080, dosing, for example, mice at different concentrations, have found and have shown that that there is evidence of disruption of the reproductive system in mice at certain concentration.